Mid-level trade talks resume in Washington today as the U.S. and China head back to the negotiating table. President Trump last week delayed a tariff increase that had been scheduled for October 1st on $250 billion worth of Chinese goods after China also delayed tariffs on some U.S. imports. Joining us to discuss the latest on all things trade is Tom Kehoe, U.S. Department of Agriculture Trade Advisor. He's also the president and CEO of Kingsbridge Strategies. Tom, always good to see you.
Good morning to the two of you.
Now, you have spent a fair amount of time in China. Are you optimistic? What are the odds that we get a trade deal by year's end?
I hope Las Vegas isn't watching right now at the sports books, but I don't know if anybody's going to put money on the table and lay odds at this. I think you and I spoke briefly a little bit earlier today. These are the two Goliaths of the world, you know. They both have a real vested interest in getting something done. Look, one of the top negotiators for China is in Washington right now, and I think a Deputy Undersecretary from the USTR, Garish, is heading our negotiating team. I think we'll see something. How much? I don't know. I think, never in my lifetime have I seen the global markets as jittery over trade talks. I mean, never, ever. You know, it's always been something, but this is pretty amazing times that we live in now. I think maybe it's because we're so connected into, you know, with these gadgets and computers. Yeah. But everyone knows, you know, they burp in Hong Kong and someone says, "Oh, what do they eat? What do they eat?" So yeah. It's quite amazing. So I think you'll see something. How much? I don't know. And please, you know, those my friends in Vegas that own the sports books, please don't go.
Is that because Trump needs a deal? It's an election year.
I think. Look. Global peace and global trade are what we thrive on. You know, nobody wins, maybe other than the munitions manufacturers, in unrest and war. So I think, irrespective of what your political ideology is or what country you come from, Asia or the West, nobody wants a war. You know, who wins in a war? Look back in our lifetime. Who has won? What country really came out of a war dancing and singing? Nobody. So I think. The president has a very amazing negotiating style. It's not your typical Washington, D.C. negotiating style.
Not conventional, right?
But to his credit, and I've said this many, many times, I think the world is adjusting to him now because of the style that he has and what he's bringing to the table. And look, whether you like him or not, and I happen to like him, he's fighting for the American farmers, the American producers, the American manufacturers, and the American consumers. Look, even Chuck Schumer did a press conference a couple of weeks ago, said, and Nancy Pelosi said yesterday, maybe he's not on the right track. Somebody should have done something with China. You know, now she's saying, well, I don't know, maybe is it this? But nobody was doing anything.
You know, you mentioned the world may be starting to come around to President Trump's negotiating style. Do you think you are winning the trade war? I look at the farmers. You're seeing a lot of continued bankruptcies there. The prices of commodities are still under pressure. Who is winning right now?
Well, look, farming has not been an easy industry. Again, you know, in our lifetime, it's been a consolidation of farms. The little family farms don't seem to make it anymore unless it's agritourism out on the east end of Long Island in the wine district. But commodity prices are under pressure, but we still feed a big portion of the world. And again, China needs our pork. You know,
their pork prices went through the roof last month, almost up 50%.
They went up 49%, and they added, which was an amazing statistic, they added 1.1%. The increase in pork prices added 1.1% to their 2.8% CPI. Oh. So that's look. They have 450 million hogs in China. It's an amazing number, and they have swine flu and they can't seem to control it. So they're going to have and they just released 10,000 metric tons of frozen pork reserves, I think today, to public auction. So they need a lot of what we have.
What would an interim trade deal look like? And do you think that's possible?
I'm not going to speculate on what an interim trade deal would look like. Look, I think an interim trade deal would be good for us. We've never had one. This has just been like a casino. We've never had one with China. Now we actually have a president that's trying to put something together with bipartisan support, which is fantastic. That he's going into the negotiations, or the USTR is going into these negotiations, knowing that the Dems and the Republicans are supporting him. That's a pretty strong negotiating position for us as Americans.